to another episode of Screw the Hair. Anyway, so I think today what I'd like to talk about is actually Princess Jellyfish. Now, Princess Jellyfish pretty much just finished airing its final episode yesterday, and I have to say, overall, I really liked the show. It was kind of a breath of fresh air in a sense. Earlier this year, there was actually another kind of female-driven anime called Bigata HK, which I believe stands for, or at least translates to, B-type H system, which always kind of makes me wonder, were they referring to her breast size? Because they kind of state flat out that she has B-sized tits. And then H, would that be hentai or something like that? Because doesn't hentai translate to something like weird? Anyway. But yeah, so I really enjoy these kinds of josei or female-driven anime. Just because they kind of, sort of give a nice little fresh twist to the standard kind of anime form. In the sense that, it's mostly just targeted at men or, even young children. But anyway, a little bit of, what Princess Jellyfish is about. It's basically, in its shallowest form, about a girl learning to use makeup to become pretty. But actually, there's kind of a little bit more going on than just that. You see, basically, it starts off with the girl being promised by her mother when she's very little that her mother will make her wedding dress that looks like a jellyfish for her wedding. But then again, here come the spoilers, so please just stop right now. So anyway, her mother dies. So obviously her mother is never actually able to finish that, or even, perhaps make the dress. So of course, there's always kind of that whole living in the shadow or living in the past thing going on for Tsukimi, who interestingly enough, if you switch the two letters, or symbols, I don't know what you call them, the hieroglyphs, in her Japanese name around, you get jellyfish. But Tsukimi, I believe, means something like moon by the sea, which makes me wonder, alright, so if you switch them around and you get sea by the moon, does that mean what jellyfish is? I don't know, I don't speak Japanese or even read it. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, just because, I don't quite understand the language. But then, who does? So anyway, basically, yeah, it's a very kind of, nice anime. And I really kind of liked the male lead in the show. He's basically a transvestite. He kind of reminded me of perhaps a skinny Eddie Izzard. And I really enjoyed him just because, he really was comfortable in his own skin. And I really appreciated that. He wasn't kind of drawn out to be weird, despite dressing up in women's clothing and hanging out in bars. I mean, I always like characters who can really just kind of be so, not necessarily eccentric, but comfortable in their own skin. Because it sort of gives a nice little hint of, I guess, difference in a sense. Anyway, so basically the main arc of Princess Jellyfish is the place where they live, which they call the nunnery, because there's about 4 women living there. And they're not very fashionable. In fact, I believe they even call, women who dress nice fashionistas or fashions or whatever. So, they're just kind of shunning women. Although they do have their own little community between the 4 of them. They're not very, outgoing, or, not outgoing and not sociable and things like that. They have their own little hobbies. And really the only thing that even brings them together is just that they live in the same place and they don't get along well with people of the outside world. So they live in a place called Amamizukan. I don't know what that stands or means or anything like that. I'm guessing that's just like the name of their, building, sort of like Willis Tower or something like that in Chicago. Anyway, so as Shakespeare said, what's in a name? So the kind of plot overall is about redevelopment and gentrification of the neighborhood. Basically, I don't know what you'd call her. She's definitely not a real estate mogul, but there's this woman who wants to basically acquire the Amamizukan land. so that she can build a high-rise luxury hotel. Obviously, the girls aren't very happy or pleased with that idea. So of course they try to sort of make a boycott about it or do some sort of protest. It doesn't really go well, mostly because the woman who's trying to acquire the land just really is a bit too fashionable for them to talk to. So of course they turn this down whenever they try to. Of course, eventually she ends up seducing the Prime Minister's son, who's the half-brother of the transvestite, Kuronosuke. So, as you can see, everything's connected in quite a nice little circle of life. And she ends up seducing Shu, I believe his name is, Kuronosuke's half-brother. And, except she really doesn't seduce him. She just kind of gets him drunk, feeds him some date rape pills, and then takes off some of his clothes, and then takes pictures of her and him together. Not having sex, but just in sort of close or intimate positions. And of course she technically tries to blackmail him with this information, all those pictures, to mostly get access to his father and his uncle, who is the Prime Minister. And of course, eventually she does actually get to meet the Prime Minister, but nothing really happens necessarily. I mean, she meets him and he thinks that her and Shu banged it out, but even Shu's quite unsure of whether or not he really even banged her. So really, it's kind of almost murky. It actually reminds me of some hentai, in the sense that, the guy, there would always be like the male antagonist would just take pictures of women in sort of, I guess you could say, private positions or going to the bathroom, and then he would use that to blackmail them. And it's like, that's kind of illegal no matter what. I mean, it's quite normal to go to the bathroom, despite how, it may get posted all over your school or whatever, or something like that. So it always kind of like rubbed me the wrong way, at least in that sense of like, should girls really be so ashamed that they go to the bathroom, they're willing to have sex with some stranger? So anyway, so I thought I really like Princess Jellyfish overall, especially the opening and ending themes, just because it really kind of sets, I feel, the tone of the show. Even though the opening theme, or at least the visuals for it, are actually copied from, I believe, Sex and the City, Star Wars, James Bond, Enter the Dragon, what else is there? I'm not doing it in order, fuck you if you want me to. What else is there? There's also something of the third, Interactions of the Third Kind, Adventures of the Third Kind, what's that thing with the third kind of people? I don't know. So there's kind of a collage of openings, and it just kind of jumps from one to the other. Oh, Mary Poppins and The Graduate is one of them as well. So, it's just kind of nice in that sense. But it kind of just sets like the sort of, I guess you could say, surrealistic pop culture the girls live in. Even though they don't necessarily have a thing for, the pop culture, they all have their own kind of hobbies, like Jellyfish, dolls/kimonos, and what else is there? Three Kingdoms trivia, paraphernalia, whatever, and trains, and that's the hobbies of the main girls. So, yeah, and it's a really just kind of a fun show. Although, I have to say, the worst part about it is perhaps the last episode. It's really weak in my opinion, and I feel like they're trying to hold out for a second season, or they're trying to hold out for the manga to finish, or something like that. I mean, the love triangle between Tsukimi, Shu, well, actually it's almost a love quad if you can count Kuronosuke, but it's kind of unclear if Kuronosuke really has feelings for Tsukimi, because it seems, to me at least, he really doesn't like her, it's just he enjoys her passion, and, something like that. While Shu really just seems to want Tsukimi because she is more of a proper woman, as opposed to his seductress, who's really kind of, not a virgin at all. And Tsukimi is flat out, well, actually, they don't really ever state if Tsukimi is one, but, when asked, she kind of freaks out and freezes. But yeah, the last episode, I feel like they almost changed direction in the middle of it, because for the first 15 minutes they kind of have Shu and his uncle the Prime Minister and the Seductress all on the same plane, except they all kind of don't know it, even though they run into each other. Although Shu and the Prime Minister know they're both on the same plane. So it's just the Seductress that doesn't know it. And they're going somewhere. Earlier it stated that he's leaving the country, and then even earlier than that it stated that he's going on a countrywide tour. And overall it's just kind of like, alright, I'm confused because, which one is it? So I just kind of make believe in my own head that they're going to Hawaii for a vacation. So anyway, but it was also kind of confusing to me why the Seductress was going on vacation or anywhere. Like, was she trying to get out of the area or what? I don't know. So I feel like the second half of the show was supposed to have more of a climax or of a... And also, a lot of the problems that are kind of brought up in the last episode are quickly dissolved in the first, 3 minutes after being introduced. Like, for example, they enter into a dress contest, because they actually end up making dresses to make money to save on Mizukan, where they live. And so they enter into a contest, and then 5 minutes later they win the contest. So it's like, okay, cool. The tension, as immediately as introduced, it's automatically dissolved. And that's not really how it is for most of the series, or the 11 episodes. And so I really, didn't like the last episode. It's really weak, and it almost feels like they're really trying to hold their fingers together for a second season, but I'm not going to hold my breath for it. Especially since 12-episode anime have become really kind of prolific in the past couple of years. And I both do and yet don't understand it. I understand it's cheaper, and it's less of a gamble, but at the same time, I think there should be more 26-episode animes, because, you don't really need that much kind of filler, because you can guess with 26 episodes, they're definitely going to have some, spots in between it. Get out of here, you. I hate you. So, love you, Mr. Kitty. Anyway, so, yeah. And I kind of feared, what if there was a 26 episode of Biga HK or Princess Jellyfish? Because I really appreciated the pacing of those shows. It was really fast paced, and it was just kind of get with it, and you know what's going on, so keep following it, and you will understand what's going on. So the last episode was really to the detriment of the show overall. And I feel that there should be more 26-episode animes out there, just because I feel like there are mangas out there that really do kind of deserve it, and do have enough storyline to fill 26 episodes. So anyway, that's the story for today. Tune in next time.